4, 3, 2, 1. And we are live. Whenever you are, wherever you are, thank you for joining the Design of Everyday People live stream, where I talk to senior designers from all over the world and where you get to literally ask them anything. So get your typing fingers ready and I can weave your questions into the conversation as we go. But like always, let's make this as interactive as possible. Today's a different time, so would love to know where you guys are tuning in from, where you're listening to this conversation from. So just drop a comment in YouTube or LinkedIn and we can make this as interactive as possible. Also, you can drop your flag emoji from the country you're tuning in from to test my flag knowledge. Let's just see what happens. I'll probably screw up. So without further ado, let's start the show. This is the Design of Everyday People.
It sound right, boy.
It sounds right, boy. Always love that. Oh, we have our first person tuning in, Mia, repping from Vietnam. Thank you, thank you. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about today: how to build a startup as a design founder. Always, we start with quick introductions. So let me go first. I'm Chris, the founder of UX Playbook. But before that, a self-taught designer struggling to get into UX. And now I spend most of my time helping designers navigate this fuzzy UX career with UX Playbook, from building your first portfolio to leading your first design team. Let me flash that real quick. And if you want to check out UX Playbook, it's right here. Scan that and smash all the buttons, etc., etc. So I'm joined by two design founders in this first sort of round table format conversation today. And let me bring out the first person. The first is Nick Zechner, previously co-founder at a startup. And he told me that he actually moved to Croatia to run it, which is pretty cool. You don't hear that every day. Now he runs this design agency. And overall, he's just a nice human. So let's bring Nick out and find out more about Nick. What's going on, Nick? How's it going?
Hey, Chris. So good to be here. Thanks for introducing me. Should
Absolutely,
I
dude.
do my introduction as well, or is
Yeah.
are we
Tell
are we
the
good?
audience about yourself, like who's Nick, what you up to, and all of that good stuff.
All right. Yeah. So as Chris mentioned, I'm currently running my design studio. We have 2 employees now, and we're helping startups like Digimark, Delta AI to build better software, apps, and websites. And previously, yes, I was co-founding a startup. We raised over 150K in funding, and I did move to Croatia for that. So I think I have quite some knowledge in the design and startup space to share. And I'm doing that actually now in my design-led newsletter, which you can see this little, you can see the link down below if you are interested in that. But that's about me.
Awesome, dude. Okay, cool. Yeah, we saw each other recently in Lisbon, Portugal. Yeah, and where I was on like this long road trip, but it was good to catch up. Okay, so let's talk about the second guest we have on today. He was previously a senior product designer at Etsy, mentored at Career Foundry and Springboard. For the folks who are learning design, those are 2 companies sort of worth noting in the design education space. He's founded multiple companies, including working on his design agency, but now he's working on Ralee, a QA tool for designers. So let's get Wyatt Feaster out and find out more about him. How are you doing, Wyatt?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for the intro. Happy to be here and good to see everybody. Yeah.
Did I do a good job with the intro?
Yeah, you did great. Yeah, you did great. Yeah. Some of those things I'm like, man, I forgot I did those things because,
Awesome. So tell the folks about yourself. Just give us a spiel. Who is Wyatt? What are you working on? What's going on with you today?
Yeah, so I'm Wyatt. I've been a designer for a decade now, which is kind of crazy to say. And have worked with and on a bunch of different startups, from those super small teams to the big companies. Founded worked a number of years on my own kind of first email marketing tool and built that up and got that to a number of paying users. And then we ended up actually shutting it down, learned a bunch from just going 0 to 1. And then also we're kind of running a one-man design agency while building a SaaS product on the side that is Ralee, and that is, to help designers do that design QA, part of the process that is very meticulous and near and dear to my heart that everybody seems to have faced if they've ever been a product designer. So that's what is me in a nutshell.
Nice. So we've actually done this before, all three of us. We did something that Nick organized, and it was about UX research. So folks, if you want to, listen to that, go check out Nick's stuff on YouTube. But I also want to remind folks, the people that are listening, that you should drop your questions in the comments as we speak, just so it doesn't leave your head. And also, if you want to see a recording of this, you can just search Chris from UX Playbook on YouTube. Let's actually find out, like, where are some other guys tuning into? Someone just said, "Was that?" Okay. That's cool. Okay, that was either one of us or just someone random. Okay, cool. All right, let me switch this format up real quick and just introduce our topic for today, right? While we're all here. So, in my opinion, designers were born to create, but starting our own companies is not easy. And you guys know this. We have to learn how to raise money, how to hire non-designers, how to sell without being cringe, how to say no to distractions, especially when we're traveling, how to balance craft with profits, how to delegate as we're sort of perfectionists, how to sacrifice our nice coffee and desk setup for, like, the scrappy life of a startup, right? Shit gets real hard. And the person that actually said what's up is Alejandro, which is awesome. I met Alejandro in Barcelona, and he was kind enough to invite me to his house. And we had dinner with his family, and we're just talking startups and building. So that's pretty cool. But the reason that we're here today is to have this conversation on how to build a startup as a design founder. We're going to be touching on three things: making money as a solo designer, how to overcome self-doubt and say fuck it, common mistakes and myths about going indie. So if you are in one of these camps, you're either on the fence about going solo or you're a lonely design founder, this is kind of for you. So we're trying to get tactical, a bit philosophical maybe, and potentially a bit silly. So let me start off this topic with one of the first things, which is making money ideas as a solo designer. Like, why don't I frame it like this? If I was, a mid-level or senior designer, and I was like, okay, well, I'm kind of sick of my corporate job, or at least I'm sort of tuned out, I want to start making money on the side. What's the best way to do that? Or what are some ideas that you gentlemen have? I'll throw it to you, Nick, first.
Damn. Okay, that's already a big question to start. So let's say you are a senior designer. I think as a senior designer, or even designer in general, you already have a great advantage if you want to start something, because part of your job and what are you doing every day is listen to problems and find problems. And if you work, I don't know, as a freelancer or in a company, you are one of the first people who actually gets to know what are user problems and how to solve them. And this means you already have a big advantage. Using this knowledge and then building a product or a service or something like that, that's a different topic. But I think the best way to start making money, even a bit on the side, is really just to start sharing your knowledge on LinkedIn, on X, on wherever you want to do that, and then listen to what people are interested in. Because the weirdest things how I made money, like not much, but just a little bit, was like, hey, I created this guide on how to prompt AI. And I shared this not because I wanted to make money, but because it was a problem for me, myself, for other designers. So I just created this guide. People loved it. It went viral on LinkedIn. And yeah, now I charge a little bit of money and people are still interested in it. So turning this knowledge that you already have, finding the problems that you encounter during your work, so you don't even have to look for, hey, give me 10 ideas on how to make money, on how to find startup ideas. It's like those little MVP ideas that you find while working. And if you can start with that, I think it's easy to learn how to make money, even if it's a small amount.
Right, right. Wyatt, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the easiest one just right out the gate to like make something while you're working at a full-time job is like the most obvious, which is like freelancing. Like find that little side thing, even if it's not like a startup or the true form of a business that probably like a lot of times get to. I think that's the easiest route to making money fast that like bridges you maybe that next stage of entrepreneurship. So I think that's the easiest. And then I think the other piece that comes to mind is like finding something that you don't need anyone else's help with, that you can do a little bit yourself every single day on. And one of the, I guess the ones that come to mind that has like helped a lot with AI is like creating directories. And if you can just slowly but surely like build those directories over time and get a bunch of, content on those, then you can start getting charging little ad spots. And like, that's a whole nother thing. And, I had a little bit of exposure to that stuff, but that I think would be low effort, a lot of time, and that can be a moat in itself. So those are kind of like two, I think, easy ones off the gate, even though the second one takes longer to start making money from.
Right. And to that point of like doing freelancing first, I think I shared this with you guys, but it was Greg Eisenberg's post, and it's like goes to what Nick said, is like find and learn about a problem and then start with service, because like you already have existing skills as a designer, right? So it can be that service portion. And then the next logical step is like a productized service, meaning it's a service that you could kind of create boundaries on and then train people to deliver that service. And then it's like the next step would probably be figure out ways to automate it, build a product around it, self-serve, SaaS or whatever. So like that is a really realistic way, because I think and we'll get to this in terms of myths about kind of starting your own thing, is that you think you might need to build a product straight out the gate to make money, but that is just so much harder than folks realize, right? Whereas like you have your existing skill set, it's like, why not use that? And I think the easiest thing to do is just whatever you're getting paid for at work, to do it outside of work, right? Like that's kind of like the easiest. But no, everybody wants to build an AI app. Everybody wants to like, build the next unicorn, but that's just potentially not as realistic as where you are now, unless you have those chops. And to shoot it back to Nick, do you feel it's critical now to create content as a designer? Because you mentioned that piece of like sharing knowledge. What is your thoughts on that in terms of like, does it bring you revenue? Can you generate income from it? Or is it like a starting point?
I mean, so I don't know who said it, but a quote that's stuck in my head like forever now is, first-time founders focus on building the product, second-time founders focus on distribution. And you can build the best product, you can build the best service that you want, but no one will give a fuck. No one will find you, and you have to market yourself somehow. Even if it's cold outreach or asking friends or something, that's also marketing. And it has never been easier to get reach on social media. It's not about followers anymore. You just create good content and you will get eyes on your service or your product. So for me, it's an essential. And I would even start creating content before you have a product, before you have a service, because the people online literally tell you what they need, what their problems are. And if you go into conversations with them, they will not only tell you what their problem is, but also you already have this status of being an expert, or at least being someone that might help them. So yeah, I think content is crucial. It also has never been easier to create content. Like, look at us, we're just perfectly aligned in a live stream, and it took us like 5 minutes to set it up.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So yeah, for me, definitely content first, then service, then productized service, and eventually, yes, you might have the right resources, the right team to turn it into a real product and a startup.
Yeah. Why I see you nodding along here. What any takes?
Yeah, I mean, I think 100% that, like what you said, Nick, the, first time think about product, second time is distribution. Like, and that is so true, because even just like myself, that's exactly like first time was like, okay, you just obsess over the product and make it so good, and it has to be perfect and polished and all this shit. And then when it doesn't work out like you want it, and then the second time is like, well, how the hell do I get it in people's hands? Everything else can kind of come later. Like, that is such a paramount thing. And like, it's either you pay, like you either create content to get the attention, and that takes a longer time. You either pay for it through ads to get the attention, or you do outreach to get, and that's kind of like the three ways you get that, right? And like, I read that in a book somewhere, I don't remember where, but it was like those are like kind of the three primary ways. And so like content, I think, is essential now, because of the fact that like it's the only technically true free thing you can do. Like, outreach works, but it's still like, it's not as effective in the beginning sometimes, and like, it's not. Yeah. So I think it's kind of like a necessary evil. And I think one of the things with content that I've started to realize is like, almost like, I keep using the parable as like, it's kind of like email marketing in a way, right? Like, you're not always going to get somebody you're not always going to reach the right person. It's not always going to do good, but it's like you're keeping yourself top of mind to anybody that reads it. So it's like, oh, when that opportunity does come up, or when somebody needs that solution, or somebody is looking for a freelancer, they've seen your stuff so much that you're the first person they think of when that time comes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
I want to add to that, because I had this realization. I also started out as a freelancer, and I learned that most people actually don't know any other designers. So if you are creating content, it's very likely that you are just the only designer that they know, and they can ask for help, because we are in our bubble. Like, we see designers everywhere, we see freelancers everywhere, but for like a startup founder or a tech founder, you might be the only one. So start creating content, guys.
yeah, exactly. And I want to tell a story here real quick on ideas to make money as a solo designer. So I think is Jason Fried that said this or wrote about this way back when. It's basically like using the sawdust as a product. The thing that you currently do at work, or some sort of process, or some sort of asset that you create at work that solves the problem. You could use that as an idea to go out into the market and see if other people also find it valuable. So the story here is around how the birth of UX Playbook, basically, right? Things I would build with my team internally at multiple different companies. And the idea was like, oh, we found it useful. Would someone else find it useful? And it wasn't a thing that the company sold, right? It was just internal processes and our approach to UX. And it ended up working. Was it a fully fledged product with features and functions? No, it was me writing a bunch of things on a paper. It was literally just a Notion guide, right? It's like, so it's not that hard sometimes if you pick a problem that has been validated through some sense, and you just basically say, okay, pivot it to somewhere else. And the funny thing is, I built UX Playbook for design managers, but actually the audience who actually loved it, scan the QR code here, is like people learning design, right? And I was like, oh, this is interesting, because I, from a design manager standpoint, thought it would be a good thing, but actually the market will tell you like who's it for and who cares about it and stuff. So that's also one thing that you guys can think about when you're thinking about, oh, like, what ideas, like, like, what are the problems? Because sometimes if you haven't trained yourself to sort of look at these like business problems, it's quite hard to start out. But you can just look at what your company does now and what problems that you have worked on that solves things internally for them, and kind of then brainstorm ways to kind of bring that into market. Yeah. Any comments on that, or should I move on, gents?
Yeah, I got a thought on that. I think one of the points you mentioned about it like when you start on working on like a startup or a project or like a problem, and you get into the process of building it, it's amazing how your brain shifts and starts to look at identifying problems as potential business opportunities in a way that you never would have had happen if you had never just started. And then when you start reading books about business, it then like your brain goes, oh shit, that's how like that part and function of things work. And it just completely like shifts your perspective like forever once you have started it. Like even if that thing's a total flop and you do it like 2, 3, 4 times and they all flop, like just your identification of how you look at problems and businesses and bringing in money and funnels and all of those little parts of a business change forever, because you can't unsee it once you learn and get into that.
Yeah, it's definitely not a natural thing that designers are trained on, even though we're like, oh, we are problem solvers, but we don't look at it necessarily the same, right? As like we can solve it for non-designers or other people with the same problems. Nick, do you have a thought on this, or should I move on?
I just wanted to say we do know how to identify problems, but I think it's not in our nature to see business opportunities. So yes, finding problems we can do, but turning them into a business might not be the most natural for designers.
Right, exactly. Okay, so the thing that all designers go through, and I would argue humans go through, and designers even more, is this self-doubt component, right? This imposter syndrome. I think someone said it.
Someone already put it in the chat.
Yeah, the hardest thing is imposter syndrome. All right, okay. Who wants to just nail this one and just kill imposter syndrome for everybody watching at the moment? Who wants to go first?
And I'll speak to it. I think the harsh truth is I don't think it ever goes away completely, right? Like I think it's just you learn how to manage it at different levels, because if you're constantly progressing or trying to improve in like your career, business, and growing something, you're always doing something you've never done all the time. And so you constantly doubt everything and have the imposter syndrome. And it's just learning how to manage it when some days it's really high, some days it's low. And that's just a matter of it. I think the only time where I have felt like, oh, I don't have any imposter syndrome anymore is probably in design itself. Because after you've been in it for a decade, like you've just kind of seen all the shit. And like now it's kind of like riding a bike, if you will. Obviously there's nuances to everything, but like that's the only thing that I feel like doesn't create that like it used to. But everything else, if I'm trying to progress, for sure, is just like learning how to manage it day to day.
Yeah. And any like how do you manage it day to day? Like what do? You go for a run, you take a squig of tequila. What do you do?
Yeah. I think it's trying to get movement and trying to just like be kind to yourself. And I think the nicer I am to myself about realizing like it's okay that I don't have everything figured out. It's okay that things maybe aren't working out exactly how I want them to. The easier it becomes mentally to like cope with that, I guess, in a way. And then just like, yeah, just being active, go for a walk when I'm overthinking things, like if I'm feeling like overwhelmed, just like shut down the computer and just be like, all right, I'm done for the day. Like, it's whatever, it's good enough. And just kind of like be okay with that kind of piece. And then talking with people, right? Like on the same journey, I think is another really big one, right? Like that's probably, now that I'm just kind of talking, like that's probably the biggest one, right? Like surround yourself with similar people doing the same thing. And then you realize everybody's going through it. You talk about it, it helps, and you just keep on going.
Right. None of us have this figured out. Nick, overcoming self-doubt, like, and saying fuck it, like, thoughts on how you do this, or how, you know, your experience.
Yeah, I wanted to pick up on one of the comments from the chat. Albert mentioned he turns it into a motivator, and I fully agree. I had this conversation last week, actually, where, yes, it is unpleasant to have self-doubt. It might be limiting yourself, but it's also the main reason why we keep growing. And we have to grow, because if you look at a plant either grows or it dies. And I think that's the same for humans. So we have to grow. We have to get into rooms where we are not the smartest person, and that will eventually get us there where we need to be. Because building a startup, making money online, it's not easy. And we have to get started somewhere, and you're gonna feel like an imposter. Even now, I'm thinking like, why are guys even listening to me? Like, what do I have to say? But then, and that's a practice I started doing more and more now, is I look back into my journal, I look back into the things that I did this month and in previously in my life, look at the achievements, at the things that I'm personally proud of, not like as a stat or as a medal that I got, but just me personally, even if it's just making breakfast every day, and I'm proud about that. And that helps a lot with imposter syndrome. Looking back at your achievements, and this pushes me forward into the unknown. And as Wyatt said, we are always doing things that we don't know. If you're a designer and you launch a company or a service, you know how to design, but you don't know how to do sales, you don't know how to do marketing. All of that has to be learned from scratch. So yeah, I also agree. You will never get rid of it. You just learn to use it as a motivator.
Right, exactly. Yeah. For me, I like this phrase, you got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? And I think that's a really good way to overcome self-doubt. So, like, what do I mean? Maybe you are a senior designer working at a company that gives you no recognition. You have not been promoted to a lead. You haven't got the salary raise that you want, but people around you are, you know, doing awesome, or moving to Google, moving to Facebook, whatever it is, right? And you've been there for about 2 years feeling like this, right? So the best way to overcome that is actually through time, where you're just like, you are patient, and then you just become impatient, because there's nothing else you can do, right? Basically, it's this like act of desperation where you're just like, if it isn't going to happen to me, I'm going to make it myself. And I think that has served me really well in my career, because maybe I'm more impatient than others. But I get in this phase of, when I'm complacent and I have self-doubt, I can only feel like that for a moment, and then I need to go. Right? Like, it's just like I will say fuck it and just be like, I need to get myself out of this, because mentally I'm driving myself crazy by having, like, by this internal monologue, and the only thing I can get out of it is actually do something about it. So that's actually how I get out, like, over self-doubt. And on the desperation piece, it was like, I remember at university where I got kicked out the first time studying computer science, because I just didn't really do any work, and we just got high all the time, right? Like, you know, standard 18-year-old stuff. And then I got into debt, and it was like, I had to quit, get myself out of debt, and then pick which path I needed to go. Like it was either go back to university to study or to work full-time in a restaurant where I was what I was doing at the time. And it was like I had no self-doubt there because I was in such a dire situation of being in debt and trying to climb myself out. So sometimes you need to like, I don't know, have this like moment of realization where you're just in some deep, dark place. It's not healthy, but it does teach you a really good life lesson where it's like, oh, if, you know, I don't want to be in the deep, dark place again. So I better make some decisions now that won't get me to that, right? Because, you know, sometimes self-doubt, mentally anyway, we can fall down this sort of rabbit hole. And then the other thing I tend to do is I say yes to things and I just figure it out. Like I just say yes to things, or someone says yes on my behalf, and then I'm like, oh crap! Like someone just like involved me in this thing. So those are the kind of two things that have served me well. Any comments, gents, on those things or anything to add?
I mean, I like that. It's like you need the external factor sometimes to like give you that edge. You just, you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. I like that because I think it's very true for a lot of people, and you can't only wallow in it for so long. And it's even like, I think it's like I don't know what I don't know what I'm going to do, what I want, what the path forward is, but this right now, they're like, that's not it. Right. And sometimes that's, like what you need to kind of just like push yourself forward.
Exactly. And something else which is I think really underrated, and you guys might also have this. Oh, I'm trying to just mix up everything's going wrong here. Okay. Anyway, having someone in your corner just says like, you know, you could like, you know, if you choose this path, it's okay. If you choose this other path, it's also okay. It matter. That feels a bit weird, but super underrated. Like, you know, that one person or that two person or some good friends that are like, you know, you should just do it, or like just giving you a little nudge, I think is really underrated, because sometimes you're so much harder on yourself, right? And you're like, oh, I'm not good enough. Like, why are these people being better? But to have someone just be like, no, look, just try it. It's not that serious, is a great way to sort of overcome self-doubt. Have you guys got people in your lives or found this sort of useful as well?
I don't have a person like this right now, but it's the main reason why I think you should always have a co-founder, because when shit goes downwards, you just need someone who understands you. And this who understands you part is really hard to find, because even if you have a partner or family or friends, they don't know how you feel in this exact moment when, let's say, a big client pulls out, or when an employee quits. Things like this, they don't 100% understand how you feel, but a co-founder does. And that's why I think you should always have a co-founder, not only because if you want to build a tech startup, you need a tech co-founder, but it's really just about they understand you, they can support you, and they give you more of a feeling that you are good enough for what you want to do right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I feel like I have, you know, a decent amount of people around me that remind me that I'm like too hard on myself a lot, because I think so like I'm very hard on, like, it has to be a certain level, and I always feel like if I'm not doing this certain threshold of something, then I'm letting others down around me. Or like if I don't have if I like have a week where I don't schedule the content perfectly and I have to do a day of because stuff got ahead of me, then I'm like, how you can't keep up this one thing for yourself? Like, but other people around me, like, you're still getting it done, you're moving stuff forward. Like, I think that's helpful. And like, even an example like the co-founder thing, right? Like the, you know, engineer that is my co-founder with, Ralee, had a conversation with her last week about how I just was like doubting, like, am I holding up my end of the bargain sometimes? Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, and you're building the thing and I'm not doing the stuff that I need to be doing. And so we just had a conversation, and it like helped me leave there being, okay, it's just like my own internalization sometimes. And just those conversations do play a very significant part, even if it's like a 10-minute conversation about just like, this is how I'm feeling, this either, is very helpful. So I think that is a really, really underrated one. I think that's a great point.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to I think the funnest part is common mistakes and myths about going independent, right? Like if you want to build a startup, you probably need to lead with some existing knowledge about, going independent first, and then maybe building something with a team and hiring other folks. I will start here with just mistakes, and then we can do myths maybe later, however you guys want to do it. But one thing I think a common mistake is that you don't share your idea. And I would argue that your idea is worth nothing. Don't make me sign an NDA, right? No one's going to steal it. I'm not going to I don't give two shits about your idea, dude. Like, if you're not going to tell me, like, good luck building it. So like, it's worth nothing. Like, there's so many good ideas out there that never gets built. If you cannot communicate it and get people's buy-in or interest or some form of validation, because you're just like too precious around this idea. So that is a huge mistake in any mass. All right, discuss, gentlemen. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Fully agree. Like if someone would have come to you 5 years ago saying, "Hey, wouldn't it be a great idea to build like a chat interface with a neural network in the back that you can just ask anything," and they would say, "Yeah, sure, it's a good idea, but you will never do it." And now we have OpenAI and ChatGPT, which is the most popular app in the world right now. Yeah, even if I'm sure hundreds of people and even engineers had the idea of building something like ChatGPT, but it's worth nothing. You need execution.
Yeah, it's like the thing of it doesn't matter, how good your idea is. If you can't distribute it, it doesn't matter. And it's like, I would challenge anyone watching, go like think of an idea and then spend some research, and I guarantee someone solved it. Someone's done it. There's no unique idea out there. It's like how you position it, what niche part of the thing you're solving, how you distribute it. Like, so not talking about your idea is just going to make you feel more and more alone. And like, that is like such a thing. Is just like, if you don't share it, you can't get people behind it. It's not fun if you're in this, like, which is like, I'm always mind blown when like startups have like stealth mode. I'm like, it's not that serious, but
yeah, exactly. And I think like, as you share your idea and as you communicate it to the outside world, you're actually refining it and getting like real-time feedback, right? So like with all sort of startups and endeavors, it rarely is the final form factor of what it is, right? So this is what you learn when you like pitch investors. It's like you pitch them and you're like, okay, there's something that didn't really work, right? And then you adjust it, and like the vision is getting shaped in front of you. Like, I don't think Tesla was, thought about a sustainable future. I thought they just thought about making cool electric cars, and then it just morphed, right? The difference is they had a physical product. They spent years on actually building it out. But a lot of folks raise money or get people's buy-in, get co-founders just by sharing a simple idea and like pitching that. So it's worth nothing if you can't execute it or explain it in any other way. All right. I want to chuck it to you guys. Is there another mistake that you think like folks who haven't gone independent typically make? Anything that comes to mind, or I can throw out a few more.
Let me think about it for 1 minute. I don't want to put out garbage.
Okay. All right. I got another one. Woo-hoo. This is just like me venting, right? Just like I made all the, by the way, I've made all of these mistakes. So I'm not like yelling at you on the other side of the screen. It's just like things that I've done myself. So the other mistake is and this is like for the folks who have like done video and YouTube, which all of us have, it's like spending money on gears and tool and wasting time on like something like your agency's website even before you have a client is just, I don't know. It's just, why would you do that? Like, it's just like, okay, I need to, you know, buy a microphone, buy a nice camera, buy a lens, buy a light before I ever film a video. It's just like, throw that all away, right? Same with like, if you're thinking about, I'm a freelancer. Okay, cool. So I must need the best MacBook, right? I must need this tool, right? You know, premium framer or whatever it is, right? Like all the stuff that you're going to spend money on, just so you're more comfortable and actually just so you can procrastinate to start the actual thing. So huge mistake. And you should just, in my opinion, run to your first customer. Like just run as fast as you can to your first customer. The shorter the time where you could like run, if you shorten that distance, the quicker you know if that idea, that product, that service is good or not, right? If someone pays you for it, cool, like it's worked. And then you think around the infrastructure to build and to make things better, whether it's, you know, upgrading your camera gear or upgrading your actual design tools, whatever it is. But you know, kind of like procrastinating through actually burning your startup capital on these things is just it's not gonna help your business. If anything, it's gonna like, yeah, it's gonna kill your business. Anyway, rant over. What do you guys think?
That made me think of a thought, which is along the same lines. I think 100%. And I think it also made me think of, don't hire someone to do something that you have never done until you've done and tried to learn it yourself, because you end up hiring the wrong people because you don't know how to screen for them, or you waste money on useless stuff because not everybody is out to help you truly like you think they are sometimes. And they really just are in it to maximize the most amount of money from you as they can. So yeah, like don't hire even consultants or like people on Upwork or things like that until you absolutely need it and you've tried to do it yourself. I think is a mistake that a lot of people make. Like I spent money hiring an SEO agency to do stuff before I even like sunk my teeth into it, because I was impatient and lazy and didn't feel like learning it at the time. So
yeah, right. Yeah, you got to get into the nitty gritty of it, right? Yeah, exactly. Nick, anything?
I think I've done the same mistake over and over again of just building out a perfect website, changing it again. In the meantime, like 5 people saw it, and I'm like, oh no, it's so bad. I cannot leave it in the web like this. But it really doesn't matter. And especially in the beginning, a lot of your new customers come through referrals. And some, like when I started out freelancing, some new customers haven't even seen my website. They don't care. They just know, hey, this dude here says you're a good designer. Let's work together. They don't even care about the website. So yeah, I totally agree. In the beginning, you just have to talk to customers, to leads, write them directly, put out maybe some content, but don't focus too much on your website. I mean, I am selling templates for Framer, but just buy a random ass Framer template, or even there are so many good free templates out there. That's it. Don't overthink it, and then go into outreach, into content, whatever.
Yeah, and just another tidbit anecdote, which is, so I'm a professional designer. I get paid to design products, right? I'm actually using Squarespace for UX Playbook. Scan it here. But basically, it's like, yeah, like we've been alive for the past 4 years, and I still haven't been like, okay, I'm gonna invest a ton of resources, even if it's like the place where customers convert, right? Because I know like the priority is not necessarily something super flashy. Really, it's like, how do I deliver value? How do I communicate that? And that's it, really. And then, you know, the bells and whistles can happen later when you have more free time, when you have more sort of cushion and you can think about it properly. So the stuff that gets prioritized is usually the most important stuff, right? Remember, you're running towards your first customer or your ex-customer. So like that's the stuff that truly matters. And when you're a first-time founder, you don't think that to be the case because you're like, no, I need to have the perfect setup, yada, 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 yada. Okay, so let's go to myths. One we spoke about before this call, which was the life of a digital nomad, right? This is one of those things. You work for yourself, you're sitting on the beach, you're drinking a mimosa, you know, a coconut in hand, and it's just beautiful. Paradise is everywhere. And, you know, you could get paid just living that life. And Wyatt now is in Bali.
Yep.
Tell us the reality of this, dude.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's very different than what I expected going into it, right? So I went into this background, you know, I decided I'm going to go all in on my own as a, you know, consultant and building a SaaS product. So I, you know, had that in my mind and then end up like, you know, saved enough money to be in a comfortable position for that, got some consulting clients and said, fuck it, you know, and just went for it, sold my house in the US and did that. And I went in this year being like, this is going to be the most effective year. I'm going to lock in and travel. I'm going to see the world. It's going to be awesome. And it's really hard to be effective when you're bouncing around place to place and also see places. And so like the things that otherwise you would maybe be getting done on a daily basis sometimes don't get all the way done like you want because like your priority becomes like you did this traveling thing. And that was something that it's harder to be, you're not going to ever be as effective as you would if you're staying at your home doing the thing. And that's just like a harsh reality that I think I didn't realize going into it. Like client work obviously gets done because that's like, you have to get it done. But if you're, you know, your own things that sometimes that you're working on are like it's like the designer that wants to get their portfolio done, but they're also working at a job. It's like, that we'll eventually get to that, right? It's just like the thing that it's more challenging. All in all, to say it's a lot more challenging to be effective when you're moving around place to place than I probably thought it was going to be going into it. And so taking it with a grain of salt as you kind of move forward, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I
And Nick,
totally
you've
agree.
done this too. Yeah, you've traveled a bunch, working. What's your experience?
Yeah, so I also was on Bali and some other places at the beginning of the year. It was amazing. It was life-changing, but I was in maintenance mode when it comes to the business and making money. And maintenance mode is fine, but I think there has to be an end to it. Because otherwise, yeah, you will maintenance. I think most people are actually in maintenance mode and just do what they're supposed to do. But as a real founder and ambitious human being, you want to go back to growth mode eventually into building mode. And it's really hard to do that while traveling because 99% of what you do every day while traveling is ignoring distractions. Like there's so much things you can do. You can go there, then a friend invites you over there, then this interesting yoga or coffee place popped up on Google Maps that you want to check out. It's like you're constantly fighting distractions and you're thinking, as Wyatt is saying, hey, I'm already in this beautiful place. I should check out everything. Like, I don't want to work all the time here. There's a reason why I'm here, and it's to check out things. And yeah, so you're in maintenance mode while traveling. But I think, Chris, you can also share a bit about that, right? You've been traveling also, I think.
Yeah, so we did, me and my partner did 9 countries, 24 cities in just under 3 months. So it was crazy, dude. Like, yeah, it was hard to get any real work done. And because, of course, we spoke about distractions, but like, it's really hard to lock in when you don't have a routine, right? Like, you're not, this schedule that you've kept like sacred and you're like, you know what you're doing. So there's really not that many decisions. And I think I boil it down to like decision fatigue. and just not enough time spent on the things that you want to work on. So like the decision fatigue is like, okay, yeah, exactly. Do I do this, that? Where do I go? What do I eat? What's new? Like you're trying to experience all this new stuff, right? Because that's what traveling is about. But then it's like that gets prioritized over the work stuff because you're like, oh, yeah, that doesn't seem that fun. Like I could maybe do that later. If it's not mission critical, I'll push it out to the side. So digital nomad obviously looks great on Instagram, and it would be sustainable if you had a good routine and you traveled really slow. Like I'm talking like years, and then yeah, and you're like in a place and you could like really like live there and have a routine and then have this kind of like maybe weekend off or or whenever you want off, but actually having like an 80-20 balance where 80% is work and 20% is just play and explore and all that stuff. But real digital nomading hasn't worked for me, and I think it gets sold as one of these things that anybody can do, and you don't really, and it's 20% work and 80% play. I think that's BS. Yeah,
I mean, sometimes it can be, but again, it's maintenance mode. If you really want to grow your business, to get new clients, yeah, you cannot sit on the beach. And also this picture, your laptop sitting on the beach with a coconut. Do you know how much sand there is on a beach? It's impossible to put your laptop there. Like
You just put it there, you take the picture, and then you go back inside.
exactly.
Yeah,
But,
you're like
you know,
running
yeah.
to the AC, right? You're like, oh my god, screw this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the only time that you probably could be pretty effective is like if you were exclusively a freelancer and you had client deadlines and you had to meet them, and that was the only thing you were doing, and you had nothing else. And it was like you had maybe, I don't know, 2 clients or 3 clients as a freelancer, and you knew what you had to do every single time. And I think you could totally manage that because like somebody else is relying on you. But when it's your own kind of thing, it's a lot easier to push things off. That's the only exception I think that I would say like you probably could be. So but maybe that does go back to the point Nick said about the maintenance piece, right? Like that's a form of maintenance mode. So it's just your own priorities, right? Like what are you really prioritizing? Because that routine thing.
Yeah. No, it's a good point you bring up because if your role was like very clearly mapped out and you had like tickets to resolve, like design tasks, like why couldn't you do that if you were someone that's been in design for ages? You could just knock it out, right? Like landing page after landing page after landing page. But if it's like creative work that's sort of unknown, uncertain, needs a lot of thinking, exploration, you can easily get out of the zone with just someone tapping you on the shoulder, right? So as is very difficult. Okay, another myth. What other myths are existing in being a founder, being a designer, going solo? Anything else that comes to mind?
I thought of one. That if you love what you're doing, you're never going to work a day in your life.
Oh God,
because that is not true. And it's like you will, once the honeymoon phase is over of something you love doing, it's still a business, and there's still days where you don't want to work on it at all. Like you just don't. Like you're just like, this week is really just exhausted me, and this task is not fun, or like this is not a part of the business I enjoy. Like, and so like it's gonna be work no matter what because you make it into work. Maybe there's the rare few people that like it generally, doesn't feel like work to them ever and whatever, but I don't think that's like a very common thing.
How do you get over this stuff though? Like, do you just grind through it, or do you delegate, or what do you do?
I think for me, what has really helped with that is allocating a minimum amount of time every day to work on said business, whether that, whatever one that is. And if I feel it like energy, I will work longer. If I feel burnt out fast, I'll end it and be like, that's okay. Like I don't feel guilty and I move on. Like I think that has helped a ton with that, because like sometimes you just have to get the stuff done. And I think that helps kind of like create this interesting equilibrium that like just ebbs and flows in a way that, I don't know, maybe it's just the fact of seasons of you working and enjoying and things like that. But
right. And Nick, tell me that you enjoy every task that you do in the business.
Not every task. I have a handful of tasks I hate doing, but in general, when I think about work, it's like play for me. I love doing it. Thinking about retirement is like dreadful. Like I'm gonna get so bored. Like for sure, there's not enough waves you can surf or coconuts you can sip on in the world to make retirement not boring. Like I love doing it. I love taking no holidays because I just when I really need some time off, I take it at that day when I need it. I don't schedule a holiday or something like that. So for me, work feels like play most of the times, and even kids get bored playing Lego all the day, right?
So some variety in things you do. That's cool. I mean, like that's good. I think we wouldn't be in doing what we do if we didn't have a net positive feeling and energy, right? Like some people are not, you know, it just doesn't really tick their boxes, right? They've tried it and it's just like, and that's okay. I think, maybe the other myth is like that everyone needs to have their own thing, right? Everybody needs to build something for themselves. That's just not the case. Like if you enjoy the place you're working at, the things you do, and have great work-life balance, like that's cool, because you won't get that in the world that we're in, because we're just like working so hard and trying to build something for ourselves. And I guess on top of that myth is that this sort of overnight success, we've seen that everywhere, right? Where you're a huge success, you make millions of dollars, right? You are this really, really successful startup founder, right? And the journey is amazing. Either you get into YC or you get millions of dollars of funding, right? Everybody knows your product, like a new Lovable, 100 million ARR in 8 months or whatever it is, right? Breaking all the world records. The reality is not that, right? These are outliers. These are the 0.00001%, and it's fucking hard, right? Knowing that it's going to be hard is not spoke about enough. And I'm not saying that, I'm not like this proponent of hustle culture, but I believe that you need that trade-off if you're going to build something, right? And for me, it's a game of slow burns, right? It's really, really slow. It's really slow. And you being impatient isn't going to speed it up, right? You just have to wait for this sort of compounding nature of whether it's audience building or long sales cycles, whatever it is to build your business, right? So that this like overnight success myth that everybody gets sold to, especially if you're working in Silicon Valley, is kind of BS. And I just want to tell the folks that it's probably one of the hardest things that you'll do, because getting a job fundamentally is kind of easy, right? Like maybe in this market, it's a little bit harder, but I would argue it's so much harder to sort of stand on your own 2 feet than and sort of have a company carry you. Thoughts, venting, anything, throw them at me, gents.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think it's I think I have a whole bunch of thoughts. I'll try to like make it short and sweet. I think number one is like, the slow burn is like a thing that like I think even I'm learning still, is like if you can accept that it's going to be a really slow journey and it's not going to be as fast as, like you said, the Silicon Valley makes it out to be, the more enjoyable the journey becomes, because you're not expecting you to be this hyper effective all the time person that like, oh, if I'm not getting this to scale and this isn't getting to 50,000 users in 6 months, then like it's a total failure, right? Like if you can accept that like it might take a really long time and like 10 pivots and all this stuff to like get to the point, I think you enjoy the journey more because more often than not, that is the case. And it even made me think of like, I think I read something, I don't remember where, but like it's something like took Figma like 7 or 8 years to hit product market fit or something, but you don't know that. It's like the 10-year overnight success thing, right? So I think that's an interesting point. And then I lost my other ones because my brain dropped them. So
we're good. Nick, what's your take here?
Yeah, people severely overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So if we look at Lovable, if you want to build another Lovable or another Figma, you get super stressed like, hey, I'm building that for a year now and I'm not even close to getting there. But imagine what you can do in 10 years. And that's probably what it took them to get there. I mean, even Lovable, of course, they had major growth, but what did the founder do in the last 10 years? They had to build their skills, how to hire people, things like this. And if you are patient enough to wait for 10 years, you will have probably a lot more success than if you just keep trying like those short cycles of, yeah, I have to get to a million users in a year. It's maybe possible, but probably not. And in 10 years, you're very likely to get there if you keep on going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the reality is just harder than, again, it's probably the Instagram, it's probably the social media, it's whatever it is. Gentlemen, before we dive into our other section of Q&As, I want to know if you guys have a bit of time. If not, it's absolutely fine to drop off. We have a few questions, but are we all good? Just, yeah, no immediate, yeah. If you need to drop off, absolutely fine. If you have another meeting, but okay, let's smash through some of these questions from the audience. I like someone said, if you are reading this, welcome to the best live show right now. Yeah. Okay, cool. just thought I'll throw that up there. Okay, here we go. Which content strategy works best for designers? Sharing case wins strategies or quick knowledge nuggets? Thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would share all of them. The thing that gets you clients is actually showing results and case studies. If you're just starting out, you probably don't have results yet. You don't have case studies yet. So you just share your work in progress. And it sounds stupid. It's counterintuitive to share unfinished work. But again, if you keep posting, you will stay on top of the mind of anyone who is reading it. And work in progress also looks good. Like, yes, imposter syndrome and stuff, but as a non-designer, if you look at work in progress, it's like, damn, that's amazing. I wanna work with this guy. And yeah, those are the things that get you results, but like knowledge nuggets, strategies, those are the things that usually perform better on social media. So it's like a mix of that. That's the simple answer. There's a detailed answer where you have like a content funnel and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, yeah, likewise, just sharing all of them. I think it would also depend on who you're targeting with it, like who you're trying to reach. I think also depends, right? Like what works and attracts designers is very different than what attracts a founder and the people that are going to be hiring you. And you can kind of kill two birds with one stone, but not really. It's like different what they digest and what kind of stuff that is. I would say, but sharing all those, sharing helpful tips and tricks, great for attracting designers. Startup founders don't really care about tips and tricks. They want to know what you produce, what products you worked on, how you can help them. So I think that helps. So, but it's a combination of all of them because you don't know which one's going to get the reach, which one's going to do it. And I think the reason you have to do all of them, at least that I've noticed, I feel like I've gotten some good growth in the last number of months. It's cool to see. Obviously, I'm nowhere near where y'all are at, but I think you kind of start to notice that having the mixture gives you the exposure and the expertise that you need to be able to show to founders that you can be capable of it. So you need the blend of both to get not only the reach, but the hyper focused stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, let's go to the next one. As a beginner designer, what is the best way to market yourself and find clients or land a role in a company without constantly feeling like others are way ahead of you and doubting yourself?
So the last part of the sentence, without constantly feeling, this will never happen, but it shouldn't limit you of actually marketing yourself and finding clients. So as we said, content is one thing. If you don't have results or case studies yet, just put out whatever you're working on right now. Finding clients. So I hate saying that, but I got started on platforms like Fiverr and Upwork, and they are, you get severely underpaid. It's a very competitive market, but it still works, and it teaches you a little bit of what clients are looking for, especially on Upwork, because on Upwork they post job ads for like smaller tasks, saying like, hey, I need someone to help me design this logo or something, and you can apply to it. And it teaches you also a little bit of how the market works, how much they expect to pay for some things. And I don't know if it's a good way to get started, but it is a way to get started. And then, of course, if you have an employer, a previous one, or any friends, there's a chance they might know someone that needs your help. And that's how I would get started as a beginner designer.
Yeah. I think I would say, like, I guess first point to the bottom is like, don't compare your chapter 3 to somebody else's chapter 25. I think that's probably like the biggest thing that makes you struggle with self-doubt on a lot of that stuff. And I'm not saying this is like how you should do it, but this is one way beginning designers now sometimes have found effectiveness that I've talked with, is like, like you said on the Upwork, but like you can volunteer time to do some free work because you need to get the experience, and they may not be wanting to pay like early level designers in the beginning. But if you can get like case studies and testimonials and prove a little bit of results, and you can showcase that on portfolio, on your agency site, whatever you will, like that goes a long way. And then maybe they refer, at some point to another. But I think that could be at least an easy way, if you are truly from ground zero, to start getting some like substance behind you. And yeah, and the reality is like, you're probably gonna have to get underpaid in the beginning, and that's just like to build something, right?
All right, another one coming in hot. A bunch of questions. Let's go for, what are the most important qualities of a founding team? In your experience, what do you guys thought an important quality is as a founding team?
I would say it's already also part of the question, but it's alignment. You have to work on the same goals, because let's say the goal is to build a rocket to Mars. If everyone in the team is aligned towards that goal, then discussions or fights always end up at least going towards that direction. If that's not the case, you start fighting about stupid things like your ego, things that you start discussing. Did someone not put enough effort into things like this? And you don't want to have those discussions. You want to have discussions about, should we put the rocket engine like this or like this? And that's why this, I think, is the most important thing for a founding team, that you work on the same mission. Skills can be learned, but if you don't really want to build a rocket, you probably will have a bad time as a founder.
I think for me, I would say persistence, because it's really tough, and you just have to be like, when shit's not working, you just have to keep going through walls and try to figure it out. And I think the other piece is like humility and being like easy to work with. I think that's a very underrated one, is like, if you don't want to work with the people that you want to work with it's like, you're never going to click. You're never going to work through the hard times. When hard times hit, everybody blames each other instead of like coming together to solve the struggles that you're going with. Which is like, And sometimes if there is that tension in the team, I think like you have to be the one that swallows the humility pill and just take it on the chest and take the ownership of, even if it was somebody else's fault, like somebody's got to be the bigger person sometimes. And people tend to end up respecting you more for that. It's like, I think about the comparison of, I think like an NFL quarterback, right? Like even if it wasn't their fault, they have to be the one that constantly, takes the brunt of it because they're the face of the team, the leader, and that kind of thing. So I think, yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off both of you, which is like goals and kind of like being able to persist with this person. I think one of the underrated things about, successful founding teams is they just work really well together, and about understanding the human and even not just professional goals, but personal goals. Like, where do you want to get to? Like, how ambitious are you? Right? Like how do you work under pressure? Like what ticks you off? Or like understanding that person deeply before ever getting into bed with them and starting a startup is very different, right? Like I 100% believe this, which is you have to have a long enough relationship with this person, so personally and professionally, so oh, this is a guy that's like, or a gal that's ride and die. Because if we're going to work on this really hard problem together, like we have to lean on each other, and we have to like gel, otherwise it just won't work. I mean, even if on paper they went to Harvard, they got a Stanford MBA, they worked at MIT, did all this stuff, it doesn't matter, right? Like, who cares? Like, they're great on paper, but can you build something for the next 5 to 10 years with this person? If you can't, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, skills, like to the other person's question, skills and competencies, those things can get picked up along the way, right? So it's like deeply human. And I think, as designers, I think that's kind of, ironic that that's my answer. But yeah. Okay, cool. I guess one last question someone asked in the thread when I posted this was, would love to hear your top 3 mistakes as a like when you were new as an independent designer. So like top 3 is kind of hard, but is there one mistake that you made at the beginning of your journey that others potentially might make? I could start first. And this is towards my second mistake that I mentioned earlier, which is like spending money on gear, tools, and wasting time on X. So when I was 30 years old, I was like, oh, I really want to start a company, so therefore I'm just going to register the name and the tax code. And it was just BS, right? Like, that is not how you start a company. Like, that is just noise that you think it's official. It really isn't, right? Again, that mistake, the mistake I made there was not running to my first customer, right? It was doing this other stuff about what a company is and how to start one. I just didn't do the research. I didn't, I was just like, oh, this is what it is. So I think that was one of my mistakes when I started.
I can only agree. That also has been my number one mistake. Sitting in my bedroom for a month working on a website, trying to figure out which tools I can afford a paid version to. But you don't need all of that. You just need to run to your customer.
Yeah, I think mine was probably spending way too much time thinking about the name and the logo and like how I'm going to do that, and buying like 10 domains and hating them and starting it over again. Like, I did that a bunch. And then just not like properly scoping projects with clients, and getting bit in the ass by that, by just like having to deliver way more because I didn't properly do it. And ended up, God, I don't even know, took like 1/3 of an hourly rate that I probably should have, because I just did such a bad job of scoping it.
Okay. All right, guys.
Yeah, there's one thing I really want to mention. Try to get paid before doing that job, at least 50% of it. Yes, you might think it's hard, but just try it, ask for it, because especially with like low priced projects, there is a chance you might not get paid at all. And asking for it up front also shows a little bit of like professionalism. Like, hey, they know what they're doing. They're confident enough that they ask for payment up front, and it will save you so many headaches in the beginning.
I like that. I like that. Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining today. It was awesome. I think we spoke about all the things that we had on the docket. So I want to give you guys some time to tell the audience about what you're doing. So why don't we start with, let's start with Wyatt, and tell us about Ralee, what's going on there, and I'll flash up a QR code for the audience.
Sure. So I'm currently working on building a product called Ralee, and it is a tool that helps designers quickly report design issues and bugs to their engineers so the front end can get implemented the way you wanted it to and should. This just came out of like years and years in the design industry of always having like that massive sheet of Google sheet full of issues. And so I just noticed how time consuming that was over the years, and every single company from like startups to the Fortune 500 always seemed to do it that way. And so throughout the founder process, I was like, hey, this is like a thing that I know designers face. And so just decided to get after it and start building that. So it's a Chrome extension, and right now it's, free to use and get in there. And yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So I saw someone scan the QR code already, but yeah, if you want to catch and resolve design bugs, check out Ralee.co. Scan here. I'll leave it in the description as well after this on YouTube, so you guys can go check that out if the QR code doesn't work, or you can just scan this. So how's it going, by the way? Like, what any upcoming features planned? What's going on there?
Yeah. So we've been in like a closed beta for, a few months now, just trying to get some feedback, get people in there, see if truly what we think that it's going to help with is what we think it's going to help with, right? Like that part of the process. So we got, I don't know, about 50 to 70 people in there using it, not on a daily basis, but when they need it for the process, they're using that. And so that's been going good. And we're just about to, I think I'm going to say like 3-4 more weeks, we're probably going to be coming out of beta completely and into like the live paid version. And so with that, we're going to be introducing like the ability to have like engineers get all the bug things they need to have fixed, the dev logs, all that stuff. You'll be able to compare Figma side by side to the live site. And then you'll actually be able to have this cool thing. Like if any designers here, if you have ever used like Framer to HTML, we have a very similar thing, but instead you can capture things where you select the divs on your own live site. It'll capture the specs of that, and then you'll be able to send that over as an issue. Be like, hey, the spacing's off here, 4 pixels or whatever, and be able to send that off. So between video recording, screen capture, and catching those snippets, you can kind of like a la carte choose whatever is the quickest way for you to be able to do that. So those are kind of the cool, exciting ones that we're getting ready to put out.
Yeah, it's such a pain, dude. Like, to go through this process where you look at the thing that's been shipped, you're like, what the hell? Like, it doesn't look my design, and like I have to do all these screenshots and like manually write on it. It's like, yeah. So it's amazing that you're working on this, and that was the problem that you're like, okay, yeah, I think I can solve it with all these features that you mentioned. So yeah, excited for that, dude. So let us know when it's out, and we'll try to get the word out for you. All right. Let me jump to Nick real quick, Wyatt. Where am I here? Let me try. Nick, tell us what's going on with Design Led.
Yeah. Okay. Now the imposter syndrome is kicking again. I really hate self-promotion, but the thing is, most design newsletters they focus just way too much on design, on the nitty-gritty. And if you're actually a founder who wants to build better software and wants to build their startup, yeah, there's no real newsletter out there that can help you look at design from a founder's perspective. And I think as a ex-design founder and as someone who works a lot with founders on their startups, on their websites, I can put exactly the thing you're looking for into this newsletter. And I'm already sharing it every Sunday with hundreds of founders. And yeah, you could just go to the link that you can see in the QR code or somewhere down here, and then I will throw some knowledge to you. But I think it's worth it if you are a founder or a designer who wants to be a founder, to see what's been shared there.
Awesome, dude. Give us an example of one of the recent articles that you shared, just so folks kind of know. Or what are some of the topics that you cover?
So one of my favorite topics is UX research, because it's like the one thing that designers should know how to do, and founders somehow already do it, like interviewing customers, asking them what they want. But there's always so much structure lacking, and I not only share how I do user research, but I also share how to actually get information out of those. So you don't have to like do 50 interviews and everyone is saying, yeah, that sounds amazing, let's do that. But you can really find the pain points. And in there I will also share resources and scripts to do better interviews. So I think that's one nugget that people really like in those newsletter issues.
Awesome. Okay. So guys, again, go follow this, scan the QR code. It's designled.co, right?
Yes.
You
Because
both have
.com is too expensive.
Yep, I've been there. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Again, gents, thank you so much for your time. And it was fun that we kind of did this last minute, kind of organized this last minute. So I really appreciate you coming on and just talking about what we probably talk about all the time, but live on air. So again, and you guys are both doing really exciting things. I saw Nick earlier this year, I believe, twice. And Wyatt, let's figure out a time to meet up wherever you are. Let me know and your schedule, and we can, meet in person finally.
Yeah, I think next up is Vietnam, so that would work out great.
Yeah. Okay, boys. All right. I'm gonna take you off stage, and I'm gonna do wrap up. Feel free to stick around, or if you need to go, run to the bathroom or like to your next meeting, you can also drop off. But thank you again, boys. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks a bunch.
All right, folks. So before we end this session, want to tell you about our next guest on the show is Elizabeth Cretan, I believe, a UX researcher previously at Shopify and got her PhD at the University of Chicago. She runs a boutique UX research and training consultancy, and we'll be getting her on next week to talk about the following topics: how to decide whether something needs research or not, how to extract insights from research and make design decisions, and how to execute research with a limited time and budget, and a bunch more stuff, and of course, your questions. So if you want to get better at research as a designer, tune in to the next live, how to turn UX research into design decisions. Ask me anything. Again, if you want to get notified, the QR codes are somewhere. It's live.uxplaybook.org. And again, if you listen to more conversations, then just jump on the list. Do I have anything else to share? Check out Ralee.co and check out designled.co. And for everything else, you guys have the LinkedIn. So until next time, bye. This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.
This is the design of everyday people.